Hey everybody, it's Julie again. Today I'm going to talk to you about something people have asked me since I got a book published back in 2013, and that is some variation of what is it like to get published. I've covered a lot of the basics of different aspects of it, like pitching to agents, or what it's like to go on submission, or some stuff about book deals, what to expect. So I feel like I've kind of covered some of what it's like, but I'm going to take that question and kind of look at a subset of it, which is what actually still surprised me after getting published, despite all the research that I've done. So this is just going to be like a personal video, and maybe you'll get some valuable insights, maybe you won't, but I figure I can share a little something that is possibly not generalizable to everyone. So I'm going to share just a few things that actually surprised me after my book was released into the world. Number one, let's talk about reviews. Okay, so I learned a long time ago in the publishing world that you're not supposed to argue with your reviews, and I did a video on that not too long ago. But one of the things that surprised me is sometimes reviews just come out of nowhere saying something that you have no idea where they got that information from. Like in my case, one time I had someone complain about me using unfamiliar words in the book, and then they listed some of the words that perplexed them, and they were words I had not used in the book. So basically they were complaining that I used words that I never actually used. You do see that in reviews sometimes, where people will just flat out write about things that weren't in your book, or they misrepresent you, and you can't argue with them. You can't comment on the reviews. I'm happy to say that my reviews have mostly not been of that sort, and in the few cases where there was gentle criticism, I actually really appreciated seeing that, because you don't want to have just all glowing 5-star reviews that make it look like you just got all of your internet friends to review your book for you. But it is nice, of course, to have a decent high rating on Amazon and a decent number of stars on Goodreads. So that was one of the things that surprised me, though, is that sometimes you get reviews that seem to be not even about your book. Number two thing that surprised me is how many people get my name wrong when they're quoting my book. My name is Julie. It is not short for Julia, but a lot of people call me Julia. I also am one of those authors that goes by 3 names, so I guess it's unavoidable that some people will assume that the first and middle name are a hyphenated first name, or that my middle name and last name will be a hyphenated last name. And sometimes it's just flat out spelled wrong, like they use Sandra instead of Sondra, or they put an S on the end of my last name, something like that. And I don't remember this ever happening to this extent. It was very, very rare in my pre-published life that anybody got my name wrong. It's not a complicated name, and I'm sure a lot of you out there who have more complicated names are very used to having your name spelled wrong, but I was not ready for that, and it happened a lot after getting published, so I have no idea what it was about getting published that caused there to be so many of those typos on my name. But the reason that I'm kind of concerned about it is, if you have your last name written wrong or your first name written wrong, they can file you incorrectly in a computer system. They can put you in the wrong place on the shelf. Like if my last name was misunderstood as my middle name and last name hyphenated together, then I would be in a completely different section of the library. And of course this can go both ways, where someone looks at your name and it's written right but they interpret it wrong, or the person who's looking for it is interpreting your name wrong and they go to that place and it's not there. So, I guess it kind of goes both ways. You can usually assume that people are going to be able to find your book even if they're not quite sure about your name. That's not going to destroy your chances if that happens in 1 or 2 places. But again, it was just a little bit of a surprise how many people got my name wrong while they were talking about the book that was in front of them at one point. Number 3 in the list of things that surprised me after getting published was something I did not see coming at all, and that is that people complained to me about their orders. I have to say this is kind of baffling because I have never thought, hey, I ordered this book on Amazon and it didn't come in, I'd better write to the author. And I guess maybe this is from some misconception amongst maybe people who don't buy a lot of books, or people who think that authors just sell their own books out of a box in the back of their truck or something. I mean, I guess that's what some people do, but that is not most mainstream published people. They're generally not going to be the one handling your order, and they're generally not even going to be in contact with the people who do. So that really surprised me, how many people like found me on Facebook and messaged my author page wanting to know where their order was, or whether the book was back ordered or something like that. And it was kind of confusing because I really have no idea how the orders are fulfilled unless you bought it personally from me or you want a copy from me or something. Then you can ask me where your book is, but other than that, that is not something I recommend doing. And if it happens to you, if you're going to get published and that happens to you, I guess don't be surprised. Number 4 in the list of things that surprised me about getting published was how many people want to know about sales. How are my sales doing? And that they think I have that information, and I'm afraid I don't. I was not surprised because I had done my research that I would not have a running inventory of how many copies we're selling, and that this was not going to be information that my publisher was going to be constantly updating me on. So, I mean, unless you are maybe a self-published author or a very small press author who has access to some kind of numbers of orders that you're involved with fulfilling, then I could see maybe you would know some of that information, but I definitely don't know that information, and it kind of surprised me how many people thought I would be able to tell them how it was doing, like how many copies I've sold this week or something. What I do get to know is the same stuff everybody else gets to know just from looking it up on Amazon, maybe seeing what its rank is, or if I've hit any bestseller lists, or possibly looking at the number of people who have added it as something that they want on their to-read list on the Goodreads website or something like that. So you can't necessarily translate buzz into sales, though. So when I actually get to find out how many copies sold, it's usually way out of date from what's current anyway. I get a statement every 6 months of how many books have sold, of which formats, along with my check, my royalty check. So I don't get to have a running understanding of how many people are buying it or how the sales are going. Every once in a while I'll get a little update from a publisher about that it's doing well or something like that, but that's usually a vague statement, and usually they don't even know from week to week how well the book is doing. It's just kind of an inventory they take every 6 months, and in between you don't really have that strong of an idea. So that is something that surprises a lot of people, is that you don't really know how your book is doing most of the time. And the number 5 thing that surprised me after getting published was how excited everybody else in my life got about me getting a book deal and my book finally being out there in the world. I don't want to sound egotistical, but I did expect the book to sell. I really thought I had a solid concept and that it was being pitched at a really good time for a book like this to sell, so I wasn't particularly surprised that it sold. But then when so many people were so excited about it and were saying things like that this was going to change their lives, or that this had already changed their lives, it was like sort of a way of getting me excited all over again, like more than I was initially. So it was like I could see a lot of people had a lot invested in my book coming out, and even though they don't know me, like these were people that I had never met and never spoken to, were excited about my book coming out. And that is a really, like a feeling, I guess, that you don't really know how you'll feel about it until it happens to you. So other people getting excited and celebrating and sharing links about your book news and, you know, flipping out about it is, it really just gets your hype going, you know. It makes you realize on another level what this actually means, that you're finally having a product out there in the world, and it's not just about you, it's about how it's going to affect all these other people. So when I started seeing other people that were excited about the book doing things like taking photographs of it on their bookshelves, or spotting it in a bookstore and taking a phone picture with it, or maybe they ordered an autographed book plate for their book that I had to autograph and sign, and they blog about how they're excited that they got a little note from me to put inside of the book. It's like, you know, I'm not just me anymore, I'm an author to these people. And so I guess getting to see people being so excited about the book was not quite what I expected, and I think it's the kind of thing you don't know how you're gonna feel about it until it's you. So I think that's about all I have to say about things that surprised me about getting published, and you can feel free to ask questions if there was something I didn't cover in here about expectations of publication, or if I can send you to another video or an essay that I've written about that subject, then I will do that. And until next time, thank you very much for watching.